Good morning, everybody. Bobby Moore here for the Power Connection broadcast on LinkedIn Live. I'm here every morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday to Friday. Thanks for joining in. And today and every day we talk about topics around leadership, career development, entrepreneurship, personal branding, public speaking, things that are in my purview of expertise. But also sometimes I'll take on topics with people that I interview that you might find interesting for their topics. So, for example, next week we're going to talk about parenting, which is going to be something I still love to talk about, but it's going to be great. So right now I'm just starting out and welcoming people to the broadcast. As we do that, the topic today is making time for the little but important things. And what that's really all about is we often have so many small tasks within our work or business or life, and yet we don't get them done. We have struggled to make them fit them in, and sometimes they only take like an hour or two, yet we just can't do it. And so I want to talk about that because I know it's a struggle in many different ways for people, and so I thought it'd be a kind of fun topic and to get your take on it. But in the meantime, if you're joining me again, I'd love for you to start off by comment below. Let me know exactly where you're from, where you're listening in from. um Marianne's like, it must be 8:30 because there's Bobby. That's very, very sweet. So, comment below. Let me know where you're from. Are you from Toronto? Are you from California? Are you from, well, that's actually pretty early, Europe, Africa, Australia, South America, Asia? I'd love to let them know where you're from. And then as we're discussing, by all means, share your comments and thoughts on what I'm talking about. Put some questions in the feed so that I can get to those things after I'm done, because I typically will do 10-15 minutes of just talking and content, and then another 5-10 minutes of Q&A. And then if you think it's a great topic, you can heart, you can do all that kind of stuff to show that you're enjoying yourself. Was it like, comment, heart, light bulb, this thing? You tag people during the conversation. You can share in your feeds. Well, and then of course, people who are commenting, talk to them, get to know each other. I think it's a good way for us to network with one another. All right, so let's begin. So, what are some of the little things that we struggle with? Actually, let me start by telling a story. Okay, and some of you have probably already heard this. All right, which is there was a professor, and he actually he was in front of his college university class, and he said, "Okay, here we go. Here's a jar, and in this jar is completely empty." And he's like, "Okay, cool." So then he's like, "Okay." Then he filled it with a bunch of large rocks, and so he filled it all the way to the top with all the large rocks. And then he said to the class, "Is this jar full?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's full. Like, you can't put any more big boulders in there." And then he brought a bag. Then he brought a bag of smaller rocks, and then he poured the small rocks, and they kind of fit in the different the crevices of all the different things in the jar. And then he's like, "Is this full?" And they're like, "Well, okay, yeah." And so I'm like, "No, yeah, no, not sure, okay." And then he brought out some sand, and so then he poured sand, which filled in all the little gaps, and then he's like, "Is this full?" And the students are like, "Okay, I think it is, but I think the answer is no, it's not full." And then he took so then he took water, and he poured some water in all the different again, and it filled in all the little gaps that are there. And he said the lesson here is that this jar is your time, and one of the things that happens is that you have to fit in the big rocks first, because if you fit the big rocks in first, then you can fit in the smaller rocks, and then the tiny rocks, and then all the little incidental things that are like water that you need to fill in your time. And it was actually a really great analogy for your time, because if you did all the small stuff first, you would end up not being able to have time to fit in the big rocks because it wouldn't fit properly. Like if you put the smaller rocks in, they covered half the jar at the bottom. Those big rocks, not all would fit. So it's also a lesson on priorities, right? So you're doing what's important and urgent, and that are big priorities, the big projects, as well as the small ones. So if you're working on a big project, you still have to do the little things though too. So you have to find a way to fit that stuff in. And then he said, and then what was great, then he's got this pretty full jar of big rocks, small rocks, sand, and water. But secretly he didn't actually fill the water all the way to the top, and the water actually started to seep down a little bit. So there's a little bit of space on top. And he said that even if your time is full, you always have time for a coffee. And he pulled out a coffee, and he poured the coffee into the jar and then filled the top. There's always time for a coffee. So it was a great lesson in also priorities, but also making time for things. How you do different things. Do the big things first, fit in the small things. But there's lots of small things that get in our way that we actually don't do. And I'll tell you, I'll give you perfect examples. For me personally, I'm really good with my emails. So one of the things with my emails is I have an inbox that probably is less than 10 to 15 emails. If it goes more than 20 or 30, I get stressed out and I got to delegate, and delete those emails. And but I do have a couple emails at the bottom of the thing that I've just never gotten to, and they're like 2 years old, and I just and sometimes I eventually delete them, but they're things I feel like I need to address or at least to bring up at some point, and I never have. And those are those small things. I had this other small project that I wanted to work on, which I finally finished actually. So for years, I had for my own university at McGill, I had this. I wanted to get the yearbook from McGill University, and I remember a couple times way back when I was younger, I would go there and say, "Hey, I'm looking to get a new one." They're like, "Oh no, you have to send us a letter or an email and explain this thing, and then do it." And I never got around to it. I finally did it like 15 years later, but I did it and I finally got it because those small admin things. But I'm curious what some of what are some of those challenges, the little small things you're trying to fit in. Sometimes small things to fit in, like doing the dishes or getting some picture frames up. See the picture frames behind me. So we had the one that was there, and we've been living in this apartment for 8 years. Okay, and we finally got the other ones up on a weekend because we decided let's just do this. Let's just get it done. But it took forever, right? And then I think and then there's also probably work ones as well. Like what do you think are some of the biggest work little things that you don't get done or don't put in? I'll tell you one big one. This probably happens to everybody. Okay, we don't take the time or make the time to do some marketing promotions of our business, right? We don't take the time to do a little bit of networking. We don't take the time to build our brands by putting a little bit of content out there. Because every time I talk to people, and I'll say, "Hey, are you doing speaking? Are you creating content?" They go, "Oh, I'm too busy with my job. I'm too busy with that." The truth is, creating content around your experience, your expertise, and your stories is actually going to help your brand. It's going to help your company. It's going to help you. So putting that stuff in there is actually going to benefit you and benefit your brand. So can you allocate an hour a week to do so? Networking, right? I don't have time to network. I mean, again, building relationships with people is going to create opportunities, create leads, may lead to other people. And again, can you allocate an hour a week to just get out there and talk to people? That's important. And then finally, the marketing yourself. If you have a business, and I know this because my wife and I talk about this because I have my speaker business and I have my my DYPB startup. And now I'm trying to promote, the Speaker Mastermind and the Master Video and the Patreon page for career development. It's hard to fit everything in. She's trying to market herself as a freelance writer, editor, and and she was working on this big, gigantic project. It was like a 30-hour project, and but the question is, what are we doing to market our business? Because while we're busy with client work and all that work we're having and we're stressed out, if you just do all that work for like a month and you don't take the time to do an hour or 2 hours of marketing your business, then there's no pipeline being built. There's no funnel being built. And so, for me, I struggle with that too. Sometimes I don't send out the message I need to. And I was ignoring that for a long, long time. So, you have to take the time to market your business if you're going to be, if you have a full-time career job, then creating content around your brand and networking a little bit is critical every week. For an entrepreneur like myself, putting in an hour or two, just put it in the calendar to start networking. To do some outreach to people about your business and networking is so important. So many people don't do that. I'm glad to hear that Craig is you spend 50% of your time. Wow. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, I'm not sure what you mean by working on your business. You mean like reaching out to people? I spend. This is technically work on my business because I'm creating content for my business, right? So, but doing outreach is so important. I have another friend of mine. She's in Germany, and she's been telling me for years. I remember meeting her in 2014, saying, "Well, I'm trying to get more clients." She's an entrepreneur now, trying to figure that out. I said, "Well, if you just put together a LinkedIn profile and put together a little package, a little website, I think it'll be easier for you to market yourself." 4 years, 5 years later, it hasn't happened. And then I saw her last year. I said, "Okay, let's do this. Let's spend it's only going to take honestly like 3-4 hours to do this. Let's just do this." and then it never came around. And then now I've been talking to her on WhatsApp, and I'm like, let's do this. Like, I'm willing to give you my time. You're one of my good friends. I'm happy to spend 2-3 hours with you and do this. And it still hasn't happened, right? Because busy, sick, traveling, friends, whatever, right? Things get in the way. But like, she's not even on LinkedIn yet. I'm trying to get her on LinkedIn, but she doesn't. She's on the German LinkedIn, and I'm trying to get her on LinkedIn. So, helping her try to figure that out is so important. So the thing is, making time for those little things are so important. And then, of course, the other big little thing, which is kind of a big thing, because these things are important. Health, right? Eating right, shopping and cooking the good foods, working out. These are things that I'm definitely not doing. Especially, I mean, during the month of fasting, I'm doing Eid, like I'm not doing it. But now, like, there's a chance here. I have time. Let's go do it. We're all busy. Everyone's busy, and no matter how busy you are, whether you're a single parent with 5 children or you're just a double income, no kids. We fill the time with stuff, right? Work and health and socialization, things like that. That's something we need to take time for. The other thing I think people don't make time for, and myself included, is mindfulness, meditation, reflection. I mean, I've heard from people that say that even 10 minutes of meditation in the morning, reflection per day, is a game changer. I've tried. Oh man, bookkeeping, Marianne. Yeah, yeah. Don't even get me started on that one. I'm definitely one of the worst with bookkeeping. So keeping records, absolutely terrible at that. So we all struggle with that kind of stuff because the work gets in the way because it's so exciting. People get in the way because they're so amazing and lovely. I'm getting in your way because you show up to my show and so you're having fun, right? Engaging other people and talking to me and things like that. So what are you doing to make the time? Now, what are my suggestions around that? I mean, first off, number one, to acknowledge the importance of those little things. So you have to acknowledge the importance of networking, acknowledge the importance of content, acknowledge the importance of marketing and building leads, acknowledge the importance of your health and wellness, right? And if you like what you're hearing, heart, clap, like, whatever, share this on your page. But these are all the little things. I should make a list. Like, let's make a list. Why don't you guys all list below all the things you think are the little things that we need to make more time for, or at least try to fit it in somehow on a weekly or a monthly basis. On a monthly basis, my dad, he's an accountant, tax consultant, said on a monthly basis, you need to reconcile your records, right? Like, do I do that? No, I don't. And then I probably need to be better at that, right? So there's so many things first off, so step one is to acknowledge the need, the importance of these things. And if you don't think they're important, then ask around. Hey guys, anyone think that health and wellness is important? Hey, does anyone think that, a daily reflection or networking is important? Most people will say yes, and hopefully that'll reinforce you to say, oh man, I better get myself going here. Oh my God, sleep! Boom, Amar, he nailed it. I mean, that's a big task, but yeah, getting enough sleep. Oh my God, I totally forgot about that one. We always sacrifice sleep for everything else. So again, that's a very important thing. And now that I'm getting old, I need to think about what I can do. And Craig makes a really interesting point. 80% of what we do in our business can be systemized. Really, that's interesting. I'm a big believer in automation and systemization, so I have done that for certain things. I haven't done it as well across all the board, but yeah, no, I agree. I think and if we could just do that. I mean, you look at Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week. If you read that book, you'll see exactly how do they do that. Like, how do you actually work for only 4 hours a week? Or my friend Craig, my friend Kurt Mercadante, he apparently works only like 8 to 10 hours a week, right? So there's ways to do that to get around that thing. And Charles, great list there, good 5 list. I'm gonna I've added a few more to that one actually. Hey Shelly, good to see you. And by the way, Charles, thanks for coming by. Again, Satya Kumar, Laura's here. Lots of great people. Allison's here. Thank you, Allison. Brenda's here. Anicia. Hi, Anicia. Nice to meet you. Mike's here. Matthew. Okay, so really good people. Now, if you have questions on the stuff we're talking about, let me know because I want to hear from you. So I'm going through right now how you manage this stuff. So number one is the acknowledgement and understanding of these things that are really, really important. That's the first thing. The second thing is now, what are the ways to make these work? I mean, a big thing is really to manage your time properly. So calendar yourself. I mean, I never was super good back in the day with my calendar, but now I live and die on my calendar. It's great. And what you do is you book the time for those things. So you book the time for the meditation reflection. You book the time for the marketing your business. You put it in there. You just say, and you know what's it's actually good because it's going to take a break. I mean, after 2 to 3 hours of working on the same thing, you start to get diminishing returns. You just do. So it's better to mix it up with stuff. When I used to be a teacher of GMAT, and I was teaching students to to work on math and work on verbal and to work on their essays, I told them, when you're doing your studies and you're working hard, don't spend the entire day on this one topic. Mix it up, just like at the gym. You work on the upper body, work on the lower body. You do the this, and you do this. Mix it up because you're going to get far better returns for your time if you actually create that variety for what you're trying to do. Okay, so book that stuff in your calendar to help you plan the time to make sure you're marketing your business, to getting the sleep, to networking a little bit, answering messages, things like that, right? And then the other thing you want to do is, I think it's good to get an accountability partner. Like my friend Kira Day, she actually works with my friend Angela, and they actually get together on Thursdays every morning, without fail, to just work on the stuff they're not doing. My friend Blake Fleischacker has this thing where he gets people to do early morning work from 5:30 to 7:30 before everyone wakes up, and just commit to like 90 minutes or 2 hours of that project that they've been delaying. In fact, I used that exact same thing last year to launch my Speaker Mastermind. I was like, you know what? I've been trying to launch my Speaker Mastermind program for ages. It's not happening. He's like, Bobby, commit for a month. And so I did. And so for an hour and a half every day at 5:30 in the morning, which is hard for me to wake up, I worked on the Speaker Mastermind. And by the end of the month, I had it ready and I launched it. Right? And that's awesome. Like that type of commitment, an hour and a half per day, just for 30 days. I mean, that's a lot of time. That's 45 hours. Imagine what you can do in 45 hours if you just carve out that time. So, those are all different things you can do to try to make the time for those little bit important things. Because again, and then the other thing I'll say is, every once in a while, I take a break, go meet someone for coffee, because I find that having coffee and connection will fuel you up and make you feel a little bit better about what you're trying to do. So these are all the little things that we're trying to fit in. And again, and I think the last tip I'll give you, number 4, is that forgive yourself for not being able to fit them all in, because the truth is you can't fit everything in. It's impossible. It really is. But you try to fit as much as you can. I mean, I'm a parent, so like for me, like I'm really big on from 8:15 to 5:30 p.m. That's when I work. But then after that, Super Daddy mode comes into play. My phone reminds me of this, and then I got to get going, make dinner, and the kids are coming home, and I want to be the best parent I could be. Other people who don't have kids can probably have more time. That's fine. But I try to be most efficient with my time when it comes to fitting it all in. But again, sometimes I don't work out, and sometimes I don't eat well, and sometimes I don't get enough sleep. And it's okay for like the odd thing, you have like a massive project or some sort of deadline or whatever, or some special event. But long term, you want to make sure you have those systems in place and the commitment in place to put those little things in. And I know there's so many of you out there who are avoiding or not doing that stuff. And you're saying you're busy, you're saying that you're too swamped, you're saying that you're doing other stuff, but the truth is not doing many of those things we talked about: sleep, marketing, networking, content creation, speaking, investing in your brand, understanding, what your values are, all that kind of stuff is definitely going to affect you long term. So I highly recommend you actually get into that. All right, so that's kind of my take on making time for little but important things. If you have questions or comments, comment below. At this point, I'd like to take questions. But again, a reminder, I'm here every day, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to do my broadcast for 20-25 minutes. Every Wednesday, I do a Wisdom Wednesday interview. Next week, on Wednesday, I'm interviewing Allison Schaefer, who is a parenting expert. That'll be really awesome. The week after that, I'm interviewing Emily Lyons, who is a brand, I guess I call her a brand influencer and a brand ambassador expert. So we'll talk a bit about that. So if you know anybody else that in the Toronto area that is an influencer, has a significant expertise in a certain area and think you should be interviewed, message me, tag them below, and I'd love to actually connect with them and bring them on the show. All right, so let's look at some of your questions and comments here. There's so many comments. My goodness, that's great. I love that. I love the fact that everyone is sharing some really great stuff, and talk to each other too, right? And connect with each other. Matthew's making time to reflect on current strategies for both work and personal growth. Yeah, I mean the reflection piece. I think a lot of people forget about how important reflection is. Marianne says bookkeeping. Amen, sister. I know exactly how you feel. Charles is making time to take care of my health and being mentally right. Yeah, I think Here's another example of something that I don't do. Okay, because I'm presenting you with so many things I don't do, which is kind of funny. But okay, I have an arrangement with an amazing massage therapist to get a massage once a week because of the work I do for social media and things like that. Do I go? No. How many times have I gone this year? It's like June. I've been twice, right? Twice in 6 months. Like free massages. Come on, man. Like I should go. And I don't make the time to like I'm like, oh, it's 30 minutes to drive up there, and but I got to do that, right? Okay, sleep is a good one. Um, so Craig suggests documenting and creating SOP, standard operating processes. Wow. Okay, that's so data analytical. I love it. Okay, Craig, that sounds like a topic you should share sometime. That'd be great. Charles makes time for health, family, networking, food, sleep. Karen Lynn says, rest, recharge. Take 15 minutes at least to step away from life. Just close eyes, listen to nature, soft music. Yeah, I love nature. I mean, going for like water or woods, that fuels me. I love that. That heals me. So that's something I like to do. I love going camping over the summer, so I'm going this summer. So that's always fun for me. Craig mentions a book called Traction, a great book to read. Great. Also the book Scaling Up. Okay. Sajid Kumar has a question. Finally, okay, questions. I love questions. Do you recommend automation for postings? Have seen things go bad with automation, your experience? Well, my experience with automated postings is that before LinkedIn 2.0 started, which is around 2.5 years ago when Microsoft bought out LinkedIn and started making changes, all I did on LinkedIn was honestly, I would automate 6 posts per day through like Buffer and Hootsuite. And that's what I did. And I didn't really, and then I might spend an hour a week on Friday looking at new connections, setting a couple messages, things like that. But that's all I did. I spent 1 hour a week on LinkedIn. That's what I spent. It was actually not that great. Now I've actually, done a little bit more. Now, in terms of automation, no, I think I've pretty much, I mean, there's some, but not very much. Like, the only automation I can think of is on some of my business pages, like for Ray Allen or for DYP, I might actually automate a couple of articles, but they're pretty rare. Like, I don't do it very often. Actually, usually I use Hootsuite, so it's actually live and in the moment when I post it. So I'm not actually doing much automation on LinkedIn anymore. I used to have an admin too who would help me with some messages and stuff, but I stopped using that because it just wasn't working out in terms of having them connect to people the way I would, the way I talk, right? So I don't do that much anymore. But I've known some people who are using automation really, really well. I mean, it can be done as long as it's done effectively, strategically, authentically, in a manner that is going to impress people. So I think or engage people in a way that they feel like they're feeling invested in. So you have to find the right way to do it. But AI and automation is certainly something I use in other areas of my life. Social media is a good example. I mean, I do automate stuff on Twitter. I have automated lead generation funnels. So, for example, every week I run I do an evergreen webinar on how to become a successful public speaker, and I post about that automated so that it generates leads for me. Not very many, but it still generates leads for me. So, some automation I think is really, really good. Let's see here. Brenda says, any tips to get access to LinkedIn Live videos? Well, I mean, the thing with LinkedIn Live is that's in beta access, although they are rolling it out more. I'm hearing more and more every day about people who are getting it. So, the way I just bugged people I knew from LinkedIn and said, hey, please get me access. And I never heard from them. All I heard was I got a message saying, hey, you have access. Oh, okay. I don't know who got it for me, but I just bugged people. So, like, message people and, try to work that out or ask around. If anyone has LinkedIn Live access, maybe they have special tips that might help you. But for the most part, yeah, I was just hustling my network and just really trying to push the fact that, look. And also, one of the things you can do is make sure you clearly have a plan. You can't say, I want LinkedIn Live access. Give me access so I can talk about, my life. No, you have to have a plan. Like, I would say, look, here's my plan is to do this, this, this. Here's my main topics. Here's what I want to do. Here's the structure. That's what I said. Okay. Let's see. Max says, my friend's watch repair is upset as client for having an affair with his wife. Have you had this issue? Geez, Max, where do you come up with such random stuff? No, I've never had that issue. I use a Fitbit, so I'm good. There are no issues. The affair with the wife, well, that's a bigger issue. Let's see. Charles says, how was your experience with TEDx been in terms of making it on your to-do list? Well, that's a great question. That's a whole other topic, but let me just say that TEDx, when I first did it, once I was asked the first time to do TEDx, I didn't know what it was. I looked it up and I saw all the most incredible and important business, political, sports, social leaders in the world all speaking at TED and TEDx. I had no idea it was how big it was. So when I did my first one, I was very nervous about it to make sure I did a good job. So I really prepared that one because I knew it would be a good branding and marketing tool. Two parts. One is being branded as a TEDx speaker because it basically brands you as someone who has an important message to say, right? Or important idea for the world. So that's one thing. The second thing is the video, right? The video I knew would be a great marketing tool. So the first one they had, it looked like a 2 or 3 camera video, which is fantastic. And so that really launched my social media platform and a lot of my influence that I created from that. So it was great. Now but I've done 5 TEDx now, right? And I can tell you in the first little while, I was getting invited to all these TEDx events, and some of them were great, and some of them were not so great. And then there was actually 2 or 3 that I rejected. Why did I reject them? They had no presence. The speaker calibers wasn't that great. I was like, well, "Where's your website? Where's your Facebook page?" They had nothing. I was like, "Well, I don't want to do that." And they're asking you. One of the mistakes I made for one of my TEDx talks was I accepted 2 months before it started, and I didn't realize how disorganized it was. And in the end, I didn't even get a video because they had bad lighting, and so TED said you can't post these videos. So I got no copy of that video. I didn't know that could happen. Whereas another one I went to that was really good, they booked me 9 months in advance. They had speaker coaches, even though I didn't need one, but they offered it. They had all this different stuff to help us prepare. That was great. So that was a really good experience. And funny enough, I'm doing a TEDx training, if anyone's interested, on how to land your first TEDx talk. If anyone's interested, I think if you go to my website, rayallen.com/TEDx-training, you will actually see the link for that training if anyone's interested. So it's about an hour of training, but it covers everything about TED and TEDx talks and how to get one. All right, let's see here. Craig, absolutely, would love to discuss. Yeah, let's do it. Sahib's here. Okay, Max. He slowed down my friend's watch and it really messed up his life. Yep, I feel you, man. Brenda, awesome. Thanks for the tip. You are hilarious, Max. I agree. I love the way you put together your LinkedIn Live. Well, yeah, I have a plan to the point that there's a structure. I don't necessarily have a list of all things I'm going to cover every week. I have the Wisdom Wednesdays, but my topic today was planned literally like minutes before I started, and based on a quick discussion with my wife, right, what topics to do. So that's good. Happy to answer your question, Charles. Yeah, Craig, you are passionate. That's great. That's awesome. All right, cool. Well, it looks like there's no other questions that people have. So if you have any more questions, comment below. I'm happy to engage. If you're liking what you're seeing in the broadcast, again, like, clap, heart, light bulb this, share with people, tag people for, the Wisdom Wednesday interviews. And this is today's Friday, so, I'll be off on the weekend. And, if you like these things, join me again on Monday for my Power Connection channel and at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm happy to see everybody. If you see this replay afterwards, by all means, put your questions and comments after. I read everything. I may not respond to everything, but I do read everything, and I'll do my best to respond if I can. And if you have any other questions, about the stuff I'm doing, like if you look at my links below, whether it's you're looking for career development support, you're looking for a professional speaker, you're looking for speaker mastermind support, video storytelling support, by all means, click the links below. Oh, and I should mention, actually, if you're in Toronto, I'm doing a live workshop on presentation skills, storytelling, and things like that. It's going to be in Toronto, June 13th. The early bird saves you 25% off the price, and early bird ends this weekend. So make sure you check that out. I probably should put a link somewhere, but I'll be posting about it on across channels, like on Twitter and things like that. So you can also go to my Bobby Umar or my Ray Allen company pages, and I'll post there as well. All right. So thanks so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you Monday. Take care.